What we do have right now, though, a
Yeah.
slew of NFL marquee matchups to bring you here on this Tuesday morning, with more released in the last 10 to 15 minutes or so, including the entirety of the 7-game international NFL schedule for the 2025 campaign. DRS, it was a good day on a Monday if you are a fan or a backer of the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, much like yourself, because of all the games that we saw yesterday. Four of them, or three of them featuring the Eagles, and then one more this morning, Week 10 Monday Night Football, also including the Birds. As you said, DRS, you host Pro Football Today. You hate to be driving in that 1 p.m. Eastern time slot, trying to return to regional Philadelphia, not being able to consume the Eagles game on television. Well, just look at the docket right there. So many primetime games for the reigning Super Bowl champs.
It's what we want to see, man, right? You want to see the best offense in football out there with superstars at every single position, which includes a Super Bowl MVP, a quarterback, the best running back, maybe in NFL history for one season last year in Saquon Barkley, talented duo wide receivers, bringing back your tight end, and the best offensive line in football. The nation wants to see it. Now, here's what I want, too. You see those games, and, of course, we talked about it yesterday, Cowboys-Eagles opening night. Think about this, right? The Cowboys, who can never win a championship, they're going to watch the Eagles second time in under 10 years raise that banner. And you know what I need to see at the bottom of the banner? You know, sometimes you put like the logos of the Super Bowl up there, maybe the score, and that's your second one with 2 Lombardis. Put underneath that America's team, because the Philadelphia Eagles now officially are America's team, and the NFL is telling you that right now by saying, boy, we're going to release the marquee games right up front, and most of them are with the Philadelphia Eagles, the true America's team. Your Philadelphia Eagles. Like, who wins 2 Super Bowls and knocks off Tom Brady and also Patrick Mahomes? Maybe the 2 single best wins of any 2 Super Bowls in history against those iconic quarterbacks and franchises. They are America's team. I'm just laying out the facts here.
I'll let you have it, my friend. Continue to relish in the Super Bowl success all offseason long, as you should. As we shared yesterday, first game of the year, first game of 272 in the NFL regular season in Philadelphia on that opening night. Now 114 days away, Thursday, September 4th. We did just learn in the international schedule confirmed it will be the Chargers in Sao Paulo on that first Friday night in the Brazilian opener. There has been a lot of rumored speculation, DRS, their AFC West divisional foe, and the reigning AFC champs, Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, will be their opponent. The Eagles playing on Black Friday. A great game on a Saturday doubleheader that we have in week number 16. Bears-Packers divisional rivalry, Eagles-Commanders divisional rivalry, and on Christmas night, it will be the Kansas City Chiefs and the Denver Broncos. As we learned a couple of weeks ago, a triple header once more for the National Football League on Christmas Day. Sorry, LeBron, they did not listen to you. Roger Goodell in the NFL saying we now own Christmas as well.
Yeah, it's a smart move by the NFL. Understand that nobody cares about the regular season in the NBA, so take over Christmas.
Hey,
just pound the NBA even more in the regular season.
That's close enough. I think you're going to watch one game. One full regular season game this next year.
It could happen. It could happen. But by the way, the international slate, let's get something underway. The NFL loves money. The job for Roger Goodell is to make the NFL more money, and the international games do that. But it's a disgrace. It really is that these games are 9:30 a.m. And you won't hear me stick up too much, Ben, for the West Coast. Like, you're from the West Coast. I like you, but you're an East Coast guy now. So we can sort of throw those arrows. Why should the West Coast teams have to wake up and watch a game at 6:30 a.m., like as a fan base here at that point? Like, I love, now, Graham, I'll change this too. The international games in Brazil, Friday night, that is fantastic. Why doesn't every single one of these international games, Ben, just play on Friday night? That can be your solo night. You slap that bad boy at 8 o'clock, and it's unbelievable theater. Like, why can't we do that? And don't give me like, well, then it's going to be really late at night for like the British fans. Enough with it. The goal is to get the American public to watch, where it's the majority of your fan base here. Put those games on a Friday night, and my God, we will enjoy it, and the ratings will be sky high. Nobody wants international football on a Sunday morning at 6:30 a.m. on the West Coast. Nobody.
I find it difficult to disagree, DRS. I think the only people that do is the league office, the owners of these franchises that get a very fat TV check each and every offseason, and maybe the television partners as well, because we just saw some history in the release of our 7-game international schedule, the full slate for 2025. The Minnesota Vikings will be the first team in NFL history to play 2 consecutive international games, but now in different cities. We have seen the Jags each of the past 2 years play in London on back-to-back Sundays. Okay. Minnesota will play in the first international game, but the first Sunday international game following the Sao Paulo opener on Sunday, September 28th, as the NFL returns to Dublin to take on the Pittsburgh Steelers. And then the following Sunday, they will be in London inside Tottenham Stadium to take on the Cleveland Browns. International history. NFL history for the Vikings. You know who does not care about that history and the notoriety of it? The Minnesota Vikings, nor their fan base. They're not happy at the novelty of making history in the NFL at all on this Tuesday morning.
And also, a word for the wise for the NFL. For some reason, when you take a football game outside of America, you can never get the actual, turf surface correct. We love grass. The players love grass. Last year in Sao Paulo, for that Eagles-Packers game, that was a travesty. The only worst travesty was the actual Super Bowl the Eagles lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. And you saw what happened when they had a good actual turf out there. The Eagles blasted them because the better team always wins. Put turf in every one of these stadiums. Enough with the farce where you say, boy, this is ridiculous. How would they have a billion-dollar entity play on these fields? Just put turf in those stadiums for those games. I'm tired of dealing with the ice skating rinks for a football game.
This guy gets this heated over schedule release week. Basketball on the early line next. Schedule release week around the National Football League, and our 7-game international slate is out in full on this Tuesday morning. We talked about the Minnesota Vikings making NFL history, but probably not going to mean much in terms of the novelty of it to the Vikes or their fan base. They will be the first team to play 2 consecutive international games in 2 different international locations. First in Dublin in the final weekend of September, then in London the following weekend to open up October. 3 consecutive London games in the first 3 weekends of October, including DRS, of course, the Jacksonville Jaguars in the final one. But thankfully for rookie head coach Liam Cohen, Travis Hunter, and Trevor Lawrence, they don't have to play back-to-back games in London for the first time in 3 years. Here are our 7 international games. The Sao Paulo opener on the opening Friday night of the year, September 5th in Brazil. It's the Chargers against an opponent to be released tomorrow. Probably wink, wink, the Kansas City Chiefs, then the Vikings and the Steelers in Dublin. Next, the Vikings and the Browns in London, the Broncos and the Jets in London. The Rams will take on the Jags in London on Sunday, October 19th. Then a couple of weeks off from international action before Sunday, November 9th in Berlin and Sunday, November 16th in Madrid. It's the Falcons and Colts in Germany, the Commanders and the Finns in Spain. Your 7-game international slate for the NFL season in 2025.
Now, that one graphic that's showing right now, and I take a look at it, is the team on the right the home team, or is it just split? Because the Vikings are on the left twice, but you said they're a home team and away team, so the graphics aren't correct, I would assume. The only reason I asked that, too, is because it is a major... It's a major advantage that it's, okay, let's just say it is the Chiefs and the Chargers. You don't think the Chargers would want that game at home in Los Angeles as opposed to being on the road?
For sure.
The same way I got upset last year. It's hey, it's fun your team's on, Friday Night Football. But if you would ask me last year before the season started, wait a second, that Packers game could actually be the difference between a home playoff game and a massive season for either one of those teams. Don't you want that game in your own ballpark at that point? Now, granted, it's about money, and the owners agree to this, and they understand that comes with a consequence of losing a home game. But it's just kind of interesting how it sets up. Where it's the Chiefs are where are we going? Sao Paulo? Oh, it's against a division rival. We don't have to go to their building. Sign us up at that point. Same thing if it was the Chargers saying, all right, the Chiefs, we don't have to play at Arrowhead, one of the best home field advantages. Right. We can play them on a neutral site as a home game. Sign me up for that. It's just tough because those teams that host those games, as we like to say, there's no home field advantage, and that's terrible.
It is interesting, DRS. I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
I think what you are referring to and what I told you from NFL Network's Tom Pelissero, sharing that fact and stat that Minnesota will be the first team to play 2 straight international games in 2 different cities. In his first report, the Vikings would play the Steelers in Dublin. He had the Vikings on, I guess, what would be the right, which often to us signifies home team, and then the Vikings facing the Browns in London, which would kind of be the road split. But if I'm looking at this graphic that you are seeing as well, the NFL releasing it, the teams on the left to me would be that away team. And maybe that's the sweetener of the pot for Minnesota. Hey, sorry, guys, you got to play 2 straight games internationally in 2 different locations, 2 different stadiums. It's 2 road games, which means your international games being road games are technically neutral, and we're not going to take a home game from you in the Twin Cities.
Yeah.
Maybe that's how they got the Vikings to buy into it, right?
Yeah, because I'm looking at I went to the Vikings team page here and just hit their 2025 schedule home games. So their home games are the Bears, obviously not the Steelers and the Browns, the Lions, the Packers, the Eagles, the Commanders, the Ravens, the Bengals, and the Atlanta Falcons. So you know what? It's funny you say that. They're behind the 8 ball, but that is an unbelievably fantastic trade-off for the Minnesota Vikings. So when I look at it and say, ooh, take 1 home game away, give them a road game, that's interesting that the Vikings would have agreed to that and been okay. But I'll tell you right now, like for me being the Philadelphia Eagles, or if you're a fan, you want that schedule every year, Ben. Because number one, you're over there getting used to that time change and being away from the family here. Then you get that back-to-back where you're already over there in the same time zone. That's a major advantage in game number 2. And the simple fact you don't lose a home game. So you're going to play the Steelers, which is a tough game in Pittsburgh. And then the Browns, again, it's not a tough environment per se, but still a road game that you're taking a look at, which usually has windy and rainy conditions or colder temperatures. Even though it's going to be in October, it'll probably be fine at that point. But for me, massive win for the Vikings. So if I'm betting their season total spend or looking at that, that is a positive occurrence for the Minnesota Vikings if I'm looking that way.
It is interesting, right? There is the give and take with it. 2 consecutive international games in 2 different locales. At least you are adjusting to the time change. And at least in this case, DRS, you're not getting a home game taken from you. That's big because when you play an international game and you lose a home game designation on the schedule, so, man, that really kind of sucks with all the travel, the time change, the body difference that you have to deal with. We have odds out for 3 of our marquee matchups right now on the FanDuel Sportsbook. The Chiefs and Broncos on Christmas night in Arrowhead. KC a 4.5-point favorite. The Eagles and the Bears in that Black Friday game the day after Thanksgiving. Philly a 6.5-point favorite against Chicago. And Philadelphia, DRS, also a 6.5-point favorite, nearing a touchdown in the season debut. Thursday, September 4th, 114 days from now, against their divisional foe in the Dallas Cowboys. 6.5-point spread, 46.5 is the total. I'm not going to ask you, DRS, more than 100 days away for a best bet. But how do you read that line early in what it says about both teams?
I thought it's high. It really did. Like, it came out and we saw like some other outlets at 7. Like, I look at them like, well, who's not going to take the Cowboys getting 7 on opening night? Yes, I love the Eagles. Yes, it'll be an energy and emotional night on opening night in Lincoln Financial Field. But the Cowboys, specifically early in the season, the vibes are going to be high. Dak's going to be healthy. CeeDee's going to be healthy. George Pickett's going to be there. Michael Parsons won't have any banged up knees or, hey, I'm trying to get this wear and tear. They're going to be shot out of a cannon to knock off the Super Bowl champions on day number 1. But also understand this. Like, the NFL does do some things wrong. Like, I get mad at the international market. But like the Christmas Day games are phenomenal. I have to work. Like, I'm going to be up at 5 a.m., not with my family working, but that's what we do here at the SportsGrid Network. But the Friday game, 3 o'clock on Black Friday, like the NFL, man, what an awesome week to do that, man. And the opening, a Thursday, Friday, Sunday, Monday, the NFL gets a lot right, and they do.
Schedule release week NFL headlines next. Live right here on the early line on SportsGrid. A big week around the National Football League. It is schedule release week. We're going to get marquee games on this Tuesday. Just brought you the 7-game full international slate for 2025. More to come later today. A ton tomorrow. And then, of course, tomorrow night in full, all 32 NFL teams will know the entirety of their 18-week regular season schedule for 2025. That includes the Cincinnati Bengals. But not the only big thing to happen in Cincy this week. Trey Hendrickson, the disgruntled pass rusher who led the NFL in sacks with 17 and a half of them a season ago, gave us an update on his contract negotiations and his status with Cincinnati, because we have not seen much, DRS, from the Bengals. Here was the statement released from Hendrickson and his party to ESPN's Adam Schefter. Quote, "No communication has taken place between my camp and the organization post-draft. The offers prior to the draft did not reflect the vision we shared and were promised last offseason if I continued to play at a high level. ... They, in all caps, are no longer communicating. I have been eagerly awaiting a resolution of this situation, but that's hard to do when there is no discussion and an evident lack of interest in reaching mutual goals." End quote. So Trey Hendrickson has not agreed to a new deal with the Cincinnati Bengals, and it appears conversations are at a standstill with the Bengals front office.
Yeah, and the defense is really in shambles right now. The offense should be fun. They're going to be a great team to battle and watch next year from an offensive side of the football, no question about it. But there's the choices are so simple. Like, you're going to talk about a lot with like Giannis in the NBA. If Giannis says he wants to leave, you are going to accommodate him because he's a superstar, and the last thing you want is a superstar disgruntled player that could wreck your season. Now, football's a little bit different. There's 11 on defense, 11 on offense, as opposed to just 5 guys on the court. But there's 2 easy choices. You have a player that wants more money, but it plays at a premium position. You can pay the guy because he leads the league in sacks. That's exactly what you love to see. It's hard to get guys that can sack the quarterback. Or number 2, you open it up to all 31 teams outside of yourself. We want to make the best deal possible for Trey. Come and give me a bidding war here. And let's just say at the draft, Ben, you could have gotten a mid to high second-round pick for Trey Hendrickson. You know what that does for the Bengals? Hey, look, we don't have to pay Trey $30+ million a year. We're going to get a pass rusher early in the second round that we think could be an impact player right off the bat. Those are good franchises. You know what bad franchises do? Hey, Trey, you signed a contract. I told you to go out and shop yourself around. We did. We said we can get a 3rd-round pick and a 2nd-round pick. Nope, I want 2 first-round picks or you can't get traded. Already, you're closing the door, which is probably what the Bengals told him. And then number 2, I want a pay raise. Well, you just got a pay raise 2 years ago. That's not what happens here. Guys outperform their salary and contract all the time in the NFL. Once again, Bengals, you're making this so much harder than it is. He wants out. Teams will take a high-level pass rusher, trade him. If not, keep him and pay him. It's easy. And also understand this, Ben, too. When Trey Hendrickson goes, what more do I have to do than lead the league in sacks here? Where, okay, you just paid 2 wide receivers a lot of money and a quarterback, and now I'm sitting here going like, I'm performing might be at the highest level, even higher than those guys, and you're telling me to kick rocks? That's not a good look.
He had 17 and a half sacks as well in 2023, just did not lead the league. He finished runner-up in Defensive Player of the Year voting a season ago as well. So, Donnie, I think you and I had a pretty fair assessment of the Bengals signing and extending both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins earlier this offseason. I guess credit for getting it done, but you waited far too long. You paid way too much that you did not necessarily need to in resetting the market. If you would have done it with financial foresight last offseason for Jamar Chase, the offseason prior for T. Higgins, and you would have allowed yourself the financial flexibility to build out the defense, to pay your superstar in Trey Hendrickson to be a true Super Bowl contender once again. So because of that, DRS, I can't buy into the Bengals just yet. What say you for Cincy's outlook for 2025?
I'm going to buy in on a week-to-week basis because you're going to be loving those targets to the wide receivers, and Joe Burrow is going to put up monster numbers. Why? Because his defense is going to give up 28-plus points each and every week. So in order to win a championship, you can have a great offense that works. You just can't have a sieve defense that can't back up anything. They were terrible last year, and you're probably going to say they're going to be even worse if they lose Hendrickson or he doesn't show up for game number 1. I can't buy into the Bengals as a whole, but I can buy into the prop bets that the Bengals are going to put up on offense, no question.
Cincinnati over an 11 of 17 games last season. That might be 14 or 15 this year if this is what the defense is going to look like.